Good evening and welcome to the Ogden City Council meeting of February 2nd, 2016. Please note that all council members are present. With that, I will turn the time over to Vice Chair Blair to do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you. Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Please take a moment of silence. Thank you. Next on our agenda are two recognitions. First one is for Olene Walker, and I'd like to read that, please. And it is with great honor to read this, as she was a great mentor to me. So, this is a joint resolution of the Ogden City Council and Mayor in recognizing the life and legacy of Olene Walker and her significant contributions to Ogden and the state of Utah. Whereas Olene Walker was born in Ogden, Utah on November 15, 1930 to Thomas Ole Smith and Nina Hadley. She graduated from Weber High School and earned a bachelor's degree from Brigham Young University, master's from Stanford University, and a doctorate from the University of Utah. She married her sweetheart, Myron Walker, on March 25, 1954, and together they raised 7 children. Olene loved life and all that it had to offer. She was humble, gracious, and kind in all endeavors. And whereas Olene dedicated her time to serving her family, church, and community. She was the vice president of her family's business, County Crisp Foods, from 1969 to 1992. In 1970, she served as an education consultant for the United States Department of Education and later as the director of a volunteer program in the Salt Lake City School District. Olene founded and served as the director of the Salt Lake Education Foundation and also served as director of the Utah Division of Community Development. And whereas Olene was a trailblazer in Utah politics, she served in the Utah House of Representatives from 1981 to 1989, including one term as Majority Whip. Olene shepherded dozens of bills and is responsible for the creation of Utah's Rainy Day Fund. She was Utah's first female lieutenant governor from 1993 to 2003 and spearheaded many important initiatives, including education programs, budget security measures, healthcare reform, and workforce development. Olene played a critical role in establishing the Children's Health Insurance Program and also served as the chair of the Workforce Task Force, resulting in the development of the Utah Department of Workforce Services. She chaired the National Conference of Lieutenant Governors and was the first lieutenant governor to serve as president of the National Association of Secretaries of State. And whereas Utah's 15th governor and Utah's first and only female governor, Olene was focused on improving housing, education, healthcare, and community development. Utah's Housing Fund bears her name, the Olene Walker Housing Trust. She has also led efforts to propose comprehensive reform of Utah's tax code. Continuing her legacy, she created the Olene S. Walker Institute of Politics and Public Service at Weber State University in 2012 to help foster community and public service. And whereas Olene earned numerous honors during her lifetime, including Utah's YWCA Mary Shabbat McCarthy Lifetime Achievement Award, the Weber State University Emeriti Lifetime Achievement for setting new standards, and an honorary degree, the Salt Lake Chamber of Commerce Athena International Award, and the Salt Lake Tribune's 2003 Utah of the Year. And whereas, throughout her life, Olene was dedicated to making a positive impact on everyone around her. Her life was an inspiration, and she will be sorely missed by family, friends, the Ogden community, and the entire state of Utah. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Ogden City Council and Mayor Michael P. Caldwell hereby recognize Olene Walker for her outstanding contributions to Ogden and the state of Utah. We are saddened by Olene's passing and offer our sincerest condolences to her family, friends, and other close associates. We are confident that her legacy will continue for many years to come. And with that, I propose that we adopt the recognition number 2016-1.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Fantastic. That passes. Is her daughter here? No? No? Okay, great. Then on to the next. It would be Ogden City Water Division. And Councilmember Heyer will be.
Thank you, Chair White. I appreciate the opportunity to present this joint resolution. And it's good to see so many from the Water Department here. This is a joint resolution honoring the Ogden City Water Utility Division for providing exceptional service to Ogden residents. Whereas the Ogden City Water Utility Division oversees more than 23,000 utility accounts and is responsible for maintaining and replacing city-owned water mains. The Water Division works diligently to provide exemplary service and clean water to Ogden residents. And whereas the Water Division's exceptional service was recently highlighted when the city received a perfect score on a sanitary survey performed by the Utah Division of Drinking Water. This analysis includes an assessment of the construction, monitoring, quality, operations, and record keeping of all public drinking water systems. Sanitary survey scores are based on significant deficiencies found within the system, meaning the lower the score, the better. A passing score for a city of Ogden's size is 150 points or less. Ogden City received an outstanding score of -10 points for having no significant deficiencies and an emergency response program. This is the best score a city can receive. And whereas Ogden City's newly completed water treatment plant has also received a prestigious honor. The plant won the 2015 Utah Construction and Design Most Outstanding Project for Water. The project was selected due to the challenging nature of its construction and the many architectural features of the plant, including the large window and a huge truss it required. The new water treatment plant, which operates seasonally to meet peak demands in summer months, is able to produce 13.5 million gallons of water per day and is expandable to produce 17 million gallons of water per day to meet future needs. The plant utilizes microfiltration technology to produce more reliable services and a safer quality of water. And whereas Water Division employees approach challenges with integrity, providing residents with the best service possible. Ogden's Water Division received praise from Utah State Auditor for its response to the flooding in the Douglas Highland neighborhood last year. The division responded quickly and appropriately to the incident, and the city provided the neighborhood with dumpsters and other services to aid cleanup. And whereas the Water Utility Division is constantly working to improve the city's water system, employees can consistently pursue projects to make our water system a standard of excellence. Now therefore be it resolved that the Ogden City Council and Mayor Michael P. Caldwell proudly recognize the Ogden City Water Utility Division for providing exceptional service to Ogden residents. We appreciate the outstanding and dedicated effort to our employees in their service to the Ogden community. And with that, I'd make a motion that we adopt Joint Resolution 2016-5.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes.
Kenton Moffett, he kind of runs the whole show. It's having him come up and receive this award. And could we get a photo with
I think we
he and
should.
all of his water guys?
Could we? Can we? Let's do it.
I love getting their picture taken.
Congratulations. You got to do the handshake thing. So
That wasn't an optional.
Thanks, Ken. Yeah, thank you.
come on up, you guys.
Thanks, Ken.
Thank you.
Good job, guys.
Appreciate the good work you guys do.
Good job.
Thanks so much.
Ray, you got to be in the picture. Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you.
Good job. Good job.
guys.
Thank you very much for everything you do. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Let's keep on walking, right?
Very, very good job. Thank you. Congratulations. Absolutely. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Good, thank you. Thank you.
Scooch over.
Thanks for doing this job for me.
Okay, if we can scoot this way.
Yeah, so we try to get you.
Hey, you're supposed to stand, don't you, Ben?
And those guys on the back.
Yeah. And the mayor.
Hey, Ben. Ben. Here.
All the way down.
Tall guy on each end.
I was going to tell him to go down there.
I might,
Yeah.
I just thought I was.
We might need to get her a chair so that she
Yeah.
can. It's not a good angle.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so, yes, thank you, sorry.
I'm going to lean on Neil.
Yep, and then, Councilmember Stevens, if you can get a little
Closer to the mayor.
Yeah, you lean on the mayor.
Thank you.
Is Mr. Nadolski okay? Thank you.
Oh, no, he's blocked it off. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Perfect. Thank you.
What I hear from you.
Chair White, if I could just add, I've been on a couple of the pipe repairs with these guys, and I see all the emergency shutdown notices, and the colder, nastier, darker it gets, the more they get called out, and I can't imagine doing that every day. They do great work for us, Kent. You've done a great job with your guys, and I appreciate everything that you guys do. You do amazing things in very difficult conditions.
No, and then this is really a team effort. We have a huge involvement with our engineering division. They do a lot of great work with us, and then also our Public Ways and Parks division, and other entities in the city help us out a lot. And I think that goes to speak to the leadership of Mayor Caldwell and Mr. Johnson and Mr. Louder, that there's not a lot of silos in the city. I would like to indulge a little bit and just name some of my leadership real quick. Chris Allen, she's our accounting supervisor. Vincent Ramos, he oversees our field crews. Rustin Monson oversees our filter plant and our well field. We have John Jensen, our lead crew supervisor. Michael Gallegos, he's over our meter crew, and then Steve Clark over our maintenance crew. So we really appreciate this honor. This means a lot to us and our crews. They don't remember being honored by the council like this, and so this is just amazing. We appreciate the council's support. Most importantly, we appreciate our ratepayers who've had to stomach some rate increases, and they've made it all possible. We wouldn't be here without them. Jay would like me to point out that we received another award from Rural Water for Large System of the Year. So we get to go down to St. George in a couple weeks. So that's a pretty cool thing. So it's kind of like our 15 minutes of fame. We're enjoying it, you know. And we take pride in what we do, and we got so many great people at the city, especially my division. So I thank them. They do a wonderful job. So and
Thanks. Thank
Appreciate you.
Kenton.
Next up on our agenda are a few common consent items. Fleet management facilities Fleet and Facilities Management and Operations Study, the Planning Commission, Records Review Board, and the Urban Forestry Commission.
Chair White, I make a motion that we adopt the common consent items.
Second.
This is a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes. So following that is the approval of minutes. The regular meeting of December 15th, 2015, and the joint study session of December 15th, 2015. Councilmember Stevens.
Yes, Madam Chair, they're correct.
The work session of December 15th, 2015. Councilmember Heyer.
Yes, Madam Chair, thank you. I've reviewed those and found them to be accurate.
The regular meeting of November 24th, 2015. Councilmember Gardner.
Chair White, I've reviewed those minutes and found them to be correct.
And the work session of November 24th, 2015. Vice Chair Blair.
And thank you. I have reviewed those and found them to be accurate, and I would make a motion that we approve the minutes listed.
Second.
This is a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes. So next up on our agenda is the reports from the Planning Commission. And
Justin Anderson's going to start off, and he'll introduce who else will be presenting.
great.
He always likes to get in front of the microphone, so.
Thank you, Chief Administrator Johnson. Chair White, we are, and members of the council, Mayor Caldwell, and Administrator Johnson, I'm really excited to be here tonight to bring to you the Bicycle Master Plan. And this has been a collaborative effort over a year's time to be able to, it involved the steering committee, stakeholder committee, numerous meetings with the public to get to this point. So with that, I would like to introduce Maria Villas with Fair and Pierce, who is a consultant throughout the process, and she's going to present to you the Bicycle Master Plan.
We should have her also introduce her intern.
This is my intern, Henry. This is my son getting up Western Civics today.
I'm going to help him negotiate a better contract.
Henry, don't talk to the nice man. Well, first of all, thank you for letting me come talk with you guys today about the bike plan. We really had a wonderful time working with your staff and your community on this plan. Let's see here. Okay, so I'm going to walk you through what our process was in developing the plan, what the goals are, what some of the needs and the opportunities were that we saw, and then I'm actually going to walk you through the network itself. We have a web map that we're going to pull up to show you what we are proposing. So, the plan goals are on the screen here, and I won't bore you by reading them all case by case here, but I wanted you to know that we developed these in tandem with our steering committee, which was including representatives from city staff and from UDOT and Wasatch Front Regional Council, which is the regional planning organization for this area. And so it was our understanding as we moved forward into this planning process that what the city wanted to see ultimately was to be a platinum ranked city by the League of American Bicyclists. That's the group that provides the platinum, the silver, the gold, different rankings for communities across the United States. And so that was sort of the impetus for us moving forward and establishing some of these plan goals and the plan the way that we did. But we worked on these goals with the steering committee. We vetted them with our stakeholder group, with the public, and so these are just some of the language that provides some context and the plan. So we did a bunch of field work to understand what some of the needs were in the communities. We read a lot of the planning documents that were already available that were specific to Ogden. We worked with the public. We worked with different agencies to understand what some of the needs were. And so obviously I'm not going to go through them all here, but in general, some of the themes that we heard from the communities were that they wanted to have really great bicycle connections to different elements of their community that they would want to bike to, right? Makes sense? Transit centers, schools, shopping centers, places where their jobs were. Those were all connections that they wanted to see. They wanted to see bicycle facilities too, and they also wanted to be able to connect to neighboring communities so that you can go from Ogden to other places. They wanted to see accommodations over big barriers like I-15. It's really hard for cyclists and other drivers as well to get across I-15 in the Ogden area. The rail yards are a big obstacle. We also heard that there were some concerns about people being able to either go along or across some of the high traffic roads like Wall Street, 12th Street, Harrison Boulevard, and they wanted wanted to see some facilities, not only facilities on these roads, but ways to cross these roads safely. Also heard that they wanted to see more bicycle parking throughout the community. We also knew that there was already a really great backbone in terms of your Grant Avenue Promenade, in terms of some of the trail systems, the Ogden River Parkway, the Weber River Parkway, that we wanted to build off of and connect to and really provide a great system that makes a network overall for the whole city. So we knew there were some opportunities there that we wanted to connect to. We also knew there were some other programs going on in the region that the city was interested in being a part of. One is the Bike Share program, and if you're not too familiar with Bike Share, it's a short-term bike rental system. They have them down in Salt Lake City. It's called Green Bike, and you can just check out a bike for a few hours or a few minutes and be able to ride around the city. So we helped put together some ideas on where would be good stations for bike share in the downtown area based on where might be the highest ridership of a system like that. And we also coordinated with UDOT and UTA to find opportunities where maybe our priorities lined up with their priorities as their agencies, so that we were kind of capitalizing on those opportunities where they saw need for improvement, and so did we. We did quite a bit of public outreach as part of this project, and we were really astounded by the amount of engagement we saw in this community. We had a stakeholder group that had representatives from the different city departments, from the county, from Wasatch Front Regional Council, as I mentioned before. We had some of the cycling industry folks participating, somebody from Envy Composites, from City Cyclery. We had the WOBAC folks, we had the Bike Collective folks. We had a really large, very involved group of people participating in 2 different stakeholder meetings. One in, December of 2014, and then the other in May of last year. And then we had 2 open houses, one in February of last year and the other one in July. And we had over 200 people show up to the first open house. I was blown away. I've never seen that kind of turnout for a bike plan. Usually they just show up with those kind of numbers when they're mad about something. I'm sure you guys have seen that. But they were really excited, and we really got some great feedback from them. And then we had about 150, Justin, right, for the second open house in July of last year. So we really got a lot of great feedback from those folks in the community in terms of what their needs were, what they saw as opportunities, and actually having them look at the refined network, the proposed network. So I'm going to walk you through just a few of the types of bicycle facilities that we're proposing as part of this plan, and then I'll actually show you the proposed network. So shared routes or shared facilities, these are places on the roadway where there's not necessarily space for a full lane separated for cyclists, but they can just share the lane with cars, and you can use those little stencils. They look like a bike with a couple of arrows on it. It's called a sharrow, and you can use those stamped on the ground to mark places where cyclists can safely ride in traffic without being in what we call the door zone, where people getting out of their cars who are parked on the side of the road would potentially hit them with the door. Bike lanes, pretty standard. I think you guys probably know mostly what bike lanes look like. We've already got some. Protected bike lanes, or also sometimes these are called separated bikeways, are where there's actually some kind of a physical separation between where the cyclists go and where the cars go. So this is actually a photo of your Grant Avenue Promenade. So the separation, that physical separation, can be something like the landscaped curbing that you see here, or it can be those little bollard posts things that are every 15 feet or something like that. They can be landscape planters. I've seen them done a bunch of different ways, but the point is that there's an actual physical separation between where the cyclists are and where the cars are. Bike boulevards are a popular facility that are generally intended for streets that are lower traffic, lower speed, places where you can really emphasize bicycle travel by putting in traffic calming to keep those vehicle speeds lower. You can actually even stop you can change the stop sign direction so that cars that are approaching the street have to stop, but the cyclists can go through without having to stop, so that they're not delayed by having to stop at stop signs. Wayfinding signage is also often a part of bike boulevards, where you can have signage that indicates if you're cycling to Weber State University, it's 10 minutes that way, or downtown Ogden, it's 10 minutes that way. But it's oriented towards cyclists and the amount of time it would take a cyclist to get somewhere. And shared use paths or trails, I think you're familiar with these. These are completely separated. They're often paved. The Ogden River Parkway or the Weber River Parkway are both examples of just shared use paths for cyclists and pedestrians, but completely separated from the roadway. I wanted to mention, there's another kind of separated bikeway that is similar to protected bike lanes called buffered bikeways, where instead of having a physical separation, there's like a painted area on the pavement that's about 2 or 3 feet wide that separates where the cyclists go from where the cars go. So let me open up the map here. Amy, help me. Where did it go?
I'll get you there.
Great, thank you. Okay, now let me see if I can figure out how to do this. How do I zoom? Oh, here we go. Oop, oh, that's too far. Sorry. That's probably okay. Okay, so let me unclick a couple of these layers here. So I'll just walk you through some of what the major elements are. So some of the higher level, higher investment facilities are actually going to be long-term on Harrison Boulevard and Wall Street. And before we go too much further, I want to say this is the plan for the long-term future, right? This is not something that happens tomorrow, which is an important distinction to make, because this is something that will take a while to implement over time. But those blue lines are what we're referring to as a phased implementation project, which means that the ultimate goal for those routes is a protected bike lane, some kind of a physical separation between where the cyclists are and where the cars are. Those are both high traffic volume, high-speed roads where people indicated they wanted to see a facility on the road, but they were not comfortable riding on the road the way that it was. But those are also both UDOT roads. And UDOT and the city both acknowledge that although that's the ultimate goal, sometimes opportunities become available to do a little bit of a lesser solution, a buffered bike lane in this case that doesn't have the physical separation. So the goal is to implement buffered bike lanes first, and then when the funding and the right-of-way becomes available, to fully implement the protected bike lanes. The green dashed lines with the black underlining, so like 12th Street, Harrison Boulevard north of 20th, Depot Drive, 20th and 31st, all leading towards the city. Those are protected bike lanes, so again, with the physical separation. And that is, the separation itself will need to be identified on a case-by-case basis based on whatever design works for the city. The orange lines on the map are the buffered bike lanes where they're separated by just a painted area on the pavement, but that is Washington Boulevard, Monroe Boulevard as well. The darker green are just your standard bike lanes. I think everybody's familiar with those. The lighter green are the bike boulevards with like the traffic calming and the wayfinding, the orientation towards cyclists. And what am I missing? Oh, the Weber State Wiggle. This was kind of a fun one. I hear some, I don't hear nodding, I see nodding. So this is something that we modeled after a facility that we saw in San Francisco. And it's designed to help people get from one destination to another up a hill without having to go straight up the hill. So this is designed to connect the intermodal hub, the Front Runner Station, with Weber State University, going along city paths at a sort of indirect route. And you can use, these are all city streets. You've got a little bit more flexibility in terms of what kind of paints insignia you can put on them, but you might be able to brand it so that it's got a Weber State Wildcat paw print or Weber State colors or something like that, so that it's branded so you're really connecting people to the campus itself. We've got a few different trails that are more along the rail yards where there's some right-of-way that the city is working on obtaining to make a trail connection. And I think that's all of them. Let me also show you a few things so let me show you, this is phase 1. So the stuff that's got the yellow under highlight are the things that are the first phase. And that's about 41 miles worth of bike facilities as phase 1. Also part of phase 1 are some intersection improvements proposed. And let's see. If you can see where some of those little darts are. So there are bike detection loops, which are installed either underneath the pavement or other kind of hardware intersections that detect when cyclists are arriving at a signal and then turn the light so the cyclist can proceed through the intersection at signals. A hawk beacon, I'm not sure if you have any up here yet, but they are basically like pedestrian signals and are proposed on either side of a route on Liberty Avenue. And then 2 stage left turns are intersection facilities that allow people to get across really busy multi-lane roads. And so I'll stop there and see if there are questions.
I have a question concerning the levels of, the platinum level, gold, all those things. What stage of attainment do we have to get to these different levels? And what are we now? I think we're silver, aren't we? Or?
As far as I know, I believe you're bronze, but I saw Josh, are we up?
We're bronze.
We're bronze. But I think we think that you're probably going to get to silver with just the completion of this plan. So there's actually some materials I can send you if it's helpful. That it's based on different levels of how much infrastructure have you built. Like for example, platinum asks for 76 46% of all major arterials in a city to have some kind of a bike facility on them, and 45 or 46% of all roads, right? So almost half your roads need to have some kind of a facility on them for platinum ranking. I don't know offhand what the different benchmarks are for the other degrees, but it's not only based on that, it's also based on how much of a bike culture are you encouraging, what is the level of policy within your own city procedures that implements and institutes bicycle support, safety, the degree of like cycling laws, enforcement, and driver laws as well, recognition of cyclist rights on the road. So there's different degrees that you go through in order to reach those levels.
I asked this question in the work session, is there Utah state law that governs, in the driver handbook or whatever, that governs interaction between automobiles and bicycles? I don't think I got an answer in the work session, but.
Oh, okay. No, there are. And actually, they have a program called Road Respect through UDOT that tries to really educate communities on what are those laws. And they have great little booklets that are about this big that actually we handed out at a number of the open houses that detail what some of those different laws and regulations are. But one of the ones that people are most familiar with is that you have to have a 3-foot passing distance between cars and cyclists so that you're not inadvertently clipping them or intimidating them or other things like that. But that's just one example.
All right, thank you.
Sure.
How long will it take us for the whole project to be completed? You mentioned that it will take quite a few years for the whole thing.
To implement the entire entire network, I think it's kind of up to you. I mean, I don't know. Do you want to speak to Horizon here?
And really what comes down to how long it'll take to implement it is how much funding we put towards it. Some of this is going to be paint on the roadway, and the roadway widths are already wide enough that we can go put in bike lanes. Some of it might be we need to adjust the roadway to implement some of these changes. So as we go through this, it's really dependent on how much we want to fund it each year. So I envision this plan to get to this point is probably a 30-year vision to get to. And one of the things that we talk about in the plan is coming back after so many years to reevaluate where we're at, to see if anything's changed, if there's anything else happening that maybe wasn't planned for when we did the plan, so that we can update it and continue moving forward with it.
In your in the bike master plan, did you go through the funding? For example, phase 1, what is the cost of phase 1 and when would it start?
Well, probably Justin's better able to speak to when it would start, but we did do a cost estimate for just phase 1, so that first 40 miles, and it was about $8 million, but a large chunk of that is for the promenade itself, the continuation of the promenade. So actually that's, more than, where is it on here? It's about $6.5 million just for that. So about $1.5 million for the remainder of that 41 miles worth of system.
Would that be in a CIP, Justin, then, concept?
When we prepared the CIPs, we didn't have this plan adopted yet. We did put a placeholder in there for the bike master plan, doing projects, but we can come back once this is adopted and propose something different.
Some of that funding can come from the new Prop 1 tax that was just passed because it can go for these types of amenities. So I could see us taking a portion of that every year and probably putting it towards this.
And I'll correct Justin really quick. We typically work with Public Works on a 2-week kind of time frame, right, Jay? We don't expect 30 years.
We provided some other information in the plan also in terms of other funding sources, ways that other communities have paid for some of these things. But another opportunity that I think is a really good one for Ogden is working with UTA. UTA has been putting together a region-wide program for what they call first last mile improvements to transit. So really looking at those areas that are close to the transit stations and how do we improve bicycle and pedestrian connectivity to those. And so they have been working, we've actually been working with them on a regional program to enhance those connections, and they have different funding sources that they've been starting to allocate towards making those improvements.
In your plan also, would you touch on the education component of it and how you're going to implement that?
We didn't get too much into an education component. Maybe I'm not understanding your question. We had some goals around what education programs ought to be, sort of followed, but didn't have a detailed education component.
Did you guys do any kind of study statewide to see kind of how do we compare with other cities around the state in either our ambitions to develop this plan? I know we have some infrastructure now, so kind of where do we compare with other cities around the state? Did you guys look into that?
Well, not as part of this plan, but just, based on my own experience and working with other communities, you guys are really pretty forward-thinking in terms of your goals here. We were excited to get the message that the city was interested in trying to figure out a goal, a path to get to platinum, because a lot of the other communities that we've worked with have said, well, let's get to gold or let's get to silver. And we were actually wrapping up another couple of bike plans at the same time we were doing this, and those communities were not quite as forward-thinking in terms of as much mileage worth on their streets.
Well, Ogden is the only one that has Mayor Caldwell as the mayor.
Right, I know. Thank you for that. But there are a handful of communities that are showing more interest in getting more bike stuff on their streets, but certainly you've got Salt Lake City that's just finished their bike plan as well, but they also just had a change in their mayoral administration who is not quite as in favor of bikes as the previous one was. So that could potentially, from what I've heard.
Okay.
Maria, I have a follow-up question to Councilman Lopez. Excuse me. So you said in your experience we're forward-thinking. Mm-hmm. I was curious, within the context of your experience and all the other communities that you've worked with, how do we land in terms of challenges, the infrastructure challenges, and beyond just our forward thinking?
You actually had a great network to work with, because when you have a grid system in your streets like you guys do, you have a lot of opportunities. You have a lot of places for traffic to disperse on, which in a lot of places is not the case. Like we were actually doing a plan down in Linden around the same time as we were doing yours. And they have not great connectivity. They have a couple major roads that go through the community, but the rest of the land use pattern is very sort of suburbanized and not very connected. So it's really an excellent opportunity to have just even a layout like what you have that dates back to, more of the traditional, the Plat of Zion, the Great Block system. So you do have some really excellent things going for you in terms of that, and not only that, but also in terms of the community members that are engaged here. I mean, I think one of the reasons why we had so much turnout is because people were so excited and they were so engaged, and sometimes we'll have 20 people turn up to an open house or 30, and so when just hundreds were showing up, we were like, wow, this is incredible. So you've got a lot of momentum going here too. I think it's kind of unusual.
Yeah, I've always thought our people are our best asset, but as a follow-up to our people and the platinum benchmarks, I just want to make the comment that our ranking is directly proportional to the length of Josh Jones's beard.
I agree.
Some work to do.
Longer, or he needs to trim it shorter?
Yeah, you've got some work to do. So.
I'm sure they account that in the voice vote.
I'm on record saying that they do. Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
So I have a quick question too. As we were doing this, you get any feedback from any of the surrounding cities or the contiguous cities within our?
Not so much.
West Haven, Marriott, Slaterville, anybody?
No, not really. We did work with Wasatch Front Regional Council, which keeps a mapping database of all the different locations that other cities want to see routes in their municipalities, and so we made sure that where those folks had stuff lined up on their maps, that we were lining up with them too, so you could have those connections. But we didn't have specific meetings with those cities.
Could you just maybe, if you can, briefly comment on the environmental benefits and impact of this plan moving forward, reaching these potential platinum or silver status? Can you give a quick summary on
of what the environmental benefits would be of instituting this plan? Okay. Well, so one of the things that we know from research that we've read and conducted over the years is that a lot of trips that are taken in an area that are 3 miles or less from where that person lives. And so there's a lot of opportunities to capture really short trips on biking facilities. So having a network like this that is really robust and really comprehensive provides a lot of opportunities for a lot of different riders, right? Like we have places, if people want to ride on Harrison, they can. If they want to ride on quieter streets, they can get to those places. But that's a real opportunity to reduce the amount of what we call VMT, vehicle miles traveled, which in turn is a reduction in air pollution, which, as we all know, is a big issue here. There's a lot of talk also about the health benefits that are associated with active transportation as a whole, that, you know, as a society, we are sort of dealing with a burgeoning obesity epidemic, and this is one tool of many that communities are using to help increase physical activity, whether it's, I mean, you don't necessarily have to be commuting for work. You could be riding around for socializing purposes, visit your neighbors. This is actually something they see quite a bit down on the Murdoch Canal Trail in Utah County. People are just coming out to the trail to ride their bikes and see their neighbors. It's a socialization thing. There is actually, and so not totally prepared for that question, but in the plan, there is a section very close to the beginning that outlines some of the different environmental benefits, whether that's, you know, reduction in trips or VMT or air pollution factors.
Thank you.
Sure.
This question may be for Justin, but the expansion of Harrison Boulevard, are we going to provide bike lanes on that? And would that be included in our Phase 1 or Phase 2 program?
Yeah, so Harrison Boulevard being a UDOT road, it's, you know, for us to implement a buffered bike lane or a network that provides separation, there's not room enough right now to do that. And so that's why we showed in phased implementation, such that in the future, if UDOT ever comes in to widen that roadway and they have to buy homes along there, we have it made known that we would like to do that. But there's no plans right now that I know of for them to do that.
I think his question was on the part that we're widening that is ours.
On the...
From 7th to...
Okay. Sorry, I misunderstood your question. Yes, we are implementing bike lanes on that section.
Okay.
Both on the widening section, and we're going to look to where the section's wider going to the north, extending those bike lanes all the way to the north end of the city.
Thank you. I think that's a great start in that aspect there, to do that.
You know, I was thinking when they said it was going to take 30 years to implement that, I thought none of us are going to be here in 30 years.
Sure you are.
But these Cub Scouts will, you know, they're going to be around. And I think that's probably what's going to make this thing a success is the enthusiasm of our citizenry, because we can't drive it that long. It's going to be the people that follow us and the citizens that demand it and that require it. And so I think it's a good thing to implement and to start a process so that it doesn't need to be reinvented all the time, although I'm sure tweaks will have to happen. But it's kind of exciting to be on this end of a 30-year project.
Weeks.
You know, one of the things that we did with this plan is to help promote ideas as we were thinking about it. We did do a trip to San Francisco, and we met with an individual in San Francisco that was key to integrating their bike master plan and their facilities. And one of the things that he talked about is it didn't happen overnight to him. I mean, to get to this point, it had taken about 25 years. And they still had all these other ideas and things to implement, but to see the progress that they made, and it all started with having a plan and that you could sit down and follow, and this gets us to that point of really taking off.
I like the mayor's 2 weeks program.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. I know
my
it was
pleasure.
a long
Thank you.
process.
This is an opportunity for public input. Does anybody? No one? Oh, John.
I knew he couldn't stand it.
Yeah. Mr. Jones, please come.
So I'm also public. I live up by Weber State University, and Ben is my new representative. So, or Representative Nadolski, not Ben, right? No, but I am really excited to have this come about, and I just had to say that the kind of language that I hear from the council and from leadership and from our engineering staff and from everybody is just so impressive. I remember 10 years ago when I was riding my bike to work in the same building, I felt like I was the only one out there. And you get in the wintertime, you wouldn't see anybody. And now, even just today on my way into work, I said hi, I'm ringing bells, I'm waving to other bicyclists because people are doing it. Like this community is changing. It's changing really rapidly. And just to be out on the roads, you note it. And so just the fantastic designs that have been done, this promenade, the idea of doing this, this change in our plan, the other potential suggestions that we've got going on now that you guys are considering. I just, as a citizen, it makes me proud to live in Ogden. It makes me hopeful for the future and for what it'll be. And that's all I had to say.
Thanks,
Thank
Josh.
you.
Anyone else?
Chair White, since there's no movement, I'll make a motion to adopt the proposed ordinance 2016-7 to amend the transportation element of the master or the general plan.
And I'll second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Garner, second by Councilmember Heyer to adopt proposed ordinance 2016. This is a roll call vote.
Councilmember Garner.
Aye.
Councilmember Heyer.
Aye.
Councilmember Lopez.
Aye.
Councilmember Nadolski.
Aye.
Councilmember Stevens.
Aye.
Vice Chair Blair.
Aye.
Chair White.
Yes, that passes.
And Chair White, I will make a motion that we adopt ordinance 2016-8, adopting the city bicycle master plan.
Second.
We have a motion to adopt the proposed ordinance 2016-8 by Councilmember Heyer, second by Councilmember Lopez. This is a roll call vote as well.
Councilmember Heyer.
Aye.
Councilmember Lopez.
Aye.
Councilmember Nadolski.
Aye.
Councilmember Stevens.
Aye.
Councilmember Garner.
Aye.
Vice Chair Blair.
Aye.
Chair White.
Aye, that passes.
Ms. Chair, in our material, it's indicated that we have 134.8 miles of proposed bike lanes in the city, and if we can accomplish that, I think we're off to a great start. And
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Like it.
Well, I think the council office too with the bike rack probably is kind of new
I was
as
kind
well.
of saying that
so-
might be a good place to start, is a little better
so
bike rack.
we need to get some more bikes on there. Well, the next thing on the agenda is public comments. This is an opportunity to address the council regarding any concerns or ideas on any topic that would like to address the council. Please step up. Please state your name and address for the records.
My name is Ocean, and I'm from the Cub Scouts.
Okay.
And I wanted to ask, what is our biggest challenge against the community?
Our biggest challenge against the community or with the community?
Can you repeat it, please?
What is our biggest challenge with the community?
Are you asking us that? Oh,
Is this something for your merit badge? No? You just want to ask the question? Okay.
Let's give it to the mayor.
Sticky ones. I'd be happy to address that. One of the things we work hardest on is economic development. So if you live in Ogden, you have opportunity to get a good job and be able to provide support for your family and everything else. So there are a number of different things that we work on, but that's probably one we spend the most amount of time focused on and trying to figure out. Economic development really helps give communities resources to help with policing, help with the fire department, help fund our schools. They make safer neighborhoods, and so that's something that's a really, really important part of communities.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? No? Seeing no movement? Comments from the mayor?
Absolutely. I want to congratulate all of you and thank you for adopting this ordinance. This has been a long effort, and it's obviously something that has been near and dear to me, which is why I made that challenge to ride my bike to work every day in 2014. I picked the right year for it. Josh, if you're commuting every day in the winter here, I salute you. That's a designer year for it, but it's something that I think will really, really improve our community. I also want to give a special thanks to Josh, who's worn multiple hats. He's has a very busy job here, as you all know, as one of our GIS people, but he's passionately led WOBAC, the Bike Collective, and been our de facto planner. And Ben kind of stole my joke. I was going to say the implementation process is going to be quite long, but if we could get it to get UDOT to move as fast as his beard grows, we would get to the 2-week timeline. But I got to publicly thank Josh. He was kind of our de facto bike planner here in spite of all of his other responsibilities, and he's quietly worked behind the scenes to get a lot of this going. And I would add that Lieutenant Governor Spencer Cox, one of his primary initiatives in the last year has been championing the need for healthier communities. And he made a mention that the healthcare economy in just the U.S. is the 5th largest economy in the entire world. That's how much we spend on healthcare in the United States of America right now. And having safe ways to get people to get outdoors and to be active and to engage with their community is one of the most unique and easiest ways to address some of these obesity and diabetes issues we spend so much time, money, and energy trying to fix in other ways. So I applaud you for doing this, and I really want to appreciate everybody that's come out and let their voices be heard and has worked to put this together. It's our job now to find ways to implement it for the cheapest way possible, and I think we do a better job of that than just about any other city. So look forward to working on the process, and I agree it's great to be at the starting line for this, and it'll be fun to see this come together as we work on this over the next not 30 years. 2 weeks. Exactly.
Next 2 weeks.
So thank you all very much.
Any comments from the council members?
Chair White, I want to wish everyone a happy Groundhog Day. I remember when I was young, that used to be kind of a big deal. It's kind of gotten away. I did spend a little time in Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania, and got to know Punxsutawney Phil personally. And he did promise us a short winter this time, an early spring. So happy Groundhog Day.
I just want to give a special thank you to our young men who came to approach us and ask the very important questions. So thank you for your civic participation.
We ought to have them introduce themselves.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
All of you want to come up and introduce yourselves?
Come on up.
Bring your den leader with you, too.
My name is Montgomery L. Wheelwright. I'm Jared Danes. I'm Brigham Sadler. Ocean Mathis.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for, giving them the time. This is exciting. They were really excited for this. I think they're more excited for the shakes afterward that we promised them, but this is pretty exciting too. So I'm George Kaiser. I'm a student at Weber State. I'm studying microbiology. Going to come back and be a dentist in Ogden one day, hopefully so. And that's my wife. We were recently married about 5 months ago, and we were married in the Ogden Temple. So it's a
congratulations.
great city. And I'm a bike rider. I ride to Weber State. Actually got in an accident a few years ago. It wasn't that bad, but I think this is exciting, the new safer
That was your
road.
initiation.
Yeah, that was welcome to Ogden. So thank you.
Thank
guys.
you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Chair White, if you'll indulge me for a couple of things I'd like to mention. I'm going to pass on the temptation to draw parallels between Justin Anderson and Chief Administrator Johnson in their sweaters today, in favor of actually thanking, in all seriousness, the mayor and the rest of the administration on leading out on this bicycle initiative. We were recently at a conference in Salt Lake, and Speaker Hughes from the Utah House of Representatives quibbed that Mayor Caldwell doesn't even own a vehicle. But I know that not to be true, but in all seriousness, thank you for leading out on this initiative. It's an important thing for our community. But also, I wanted to take this opportunity with Kent Moffitt in the crowd, and I wish I had done this when your staff was here as well, so you'll have to pass along my appreciation to your staff. Recently, a constituent in my district came forward and was a little bit frustrated by some perceived city policies on how we handle discounts on utility rates for active military servicemen and servicewomen. This woman's husband had been sent overseas in protection of our country, and Kenton Moffitt and his staff helped her understand our policy and also made sure that our policies were working on her behalf and to benefit her and her family. And I think it's important to note that as public servants, you guys don't get much credit for what you do, but I want you to know that this constituent in particular noticed the service-oriented attitude that you brought to the table, and she also mentioned that she and her family, including her husband who's now serving overseas, recognizes the very important fact that this community has her back and the back of her family. So thank you for doing that.
I just want to make one last comment, or I don't know if it's the last one, but I want to make sure that everybody hears and goes to the website, ogdenbrand.ogdencity.com, and fill out a survey to hear what you think about Ogden and where it should go in the future. So it's an easy, quick survey, so please do that.
It'll take less than 3 minutes.
Any other comments?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Garner and second by Councilmember Lopez to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we will be meeting in the City Council. The next up on our agenda is a City Council work session to be held in the City Council workroom.